Hi, I'm Todd Jones. I host the podcast Press Box Access. Here's a clip from my conversation with Tom Archdeacon. Remember when Ali won the heavyweight championship for a record third time? Well, Tom was there covering it that night, and he covered some of the sad fights afterward.
I see Ali at a function at a junior college, and he's there, and he's walking kind of wobbly and things like this, and he sees me, and he motions over, and his voice was kind of a whisper and all, and he motions me to come over, and he goes, "You got old," and I go, "Well, you're pretty old. You look pretty old yourself," and he goes, "Yeah, but I'm still pretty." And, and then he still had that little sparkle in his eye, and I liked the way he treated everybody, but the way he stood up. We got some athletes now that we're seeing it again. Some athletes that are really standing for something and will speak out on matters of social justice and things like that. But that's what I admired most of him.
What about as a boxer? You saw him at the tail end of his career, right, in the late 70s. Tell me
Yeah,
about the fight, a couple of the fights. You cover, what, 4 fights Ali fought in?
three fights. The When he beat Spinks for the title in New Orleans, and which was a grand night. I mean, it was in the Superdome, and there's over 60,000 people or something, and it's just Joe Frazier sang the national anthem, and there, ringside there's Sylvester Stallone and John Travolta and Liza Minnelli, all these people, and Ali comes in, and Ali had been beaten by Spinks 7-8 months before that on a split decision. So he got in there, and he had trained pretty hard for this, and he got in, and he was just kind of like the Ali of old a little bit. He kind of controlled this young kid, and even there was times I can remember where he broke into the Ali shuffle, and this was, he was he must have been 35, 36 years old then. Spinks was a lot younger, 11, 12 years younger, and he won a unanimous decision that night. And it was like the whole crowd, it was almost like they just converged on him as he went out of the arena. Just everyone followed him, and it was it I can remember through the fight, Angelo Dundee, who was my friend from Miami,
And
started
he was Ali's trainer, right?
Ali's trainer, and he started kind of taunting Spinks during the fight, going. He would yell across the ring, going, "Goodbye, Leon. Goodbye, Leon," and it was just, and that's what it turned out to be. And
So where
that
were you sitting during the fight that you could hear that? You had to be close, right?
I was close. I was probably in the second row of the sports writers, So I was up real tight, But I mean, I also talked to Dundee about it afterwards. But then I had I covered him two fights he never should have had. The Holmes fight in Vegas, and then the last fight when he fought Trevor Berbick in Nassau, Bahamas, and that was just a terrible travesty.
What was it
And
like? Tell me about that night.
oh, it was so sad. He was just a ghost of himself when he came out. The whole production was screwed up from start to finish. I mean, it was like an amateur hour, and they forgot to open the gates. The crowd was outside, and they couldn't break the gates were locked, and they couldn't get the crowd in. And then finally, people started crawling over the walls, and finally he comes in. There were several other pretty good fights on there. Ernie Shavers fought, a bunch of different guys fought on the card, but then when he came out, he didn't even look himself, and he's fighting Trevor Berbick, a young guy, kind of unknown then. And Berbick, this was his hero. Berbick didn't even want to hit him at the end. And it was
Hmm.
just, and it was hot that night, and it was outdoors. It's like when you see these guys that, it's like ending at some circus in some, dusty town or something like that. I remember after the fight, he's sitting, I always remember this scene. I got in the dressing room right afterwards, and John Travolta is there kneeling at Ali's. It was a surreal scene. Travolta's kneeling in front of Ali, holding his hands, weeping. and
Travol-
Ali,
Tra-
yeah, and Ali's consoling him. So it was just, and it
so
was just, it was,
John Travolta was crying.
yeah, he was crying. He was on his knees in front of Ali, holding his hand, and it was just a sad scene from. And then finally, Ali retired after that. But and then I'd see him around. He didn't come around Miami much after that. But so those were the two. And the Holmes fight was just
Another sad one.
shell. Yeah, no, he had done something to lose a lot of weight, and it just he had no sweat that night, and he just wasn't himself.